we need the light?
No, they can see you.
Okay.
There we go, it's live. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's Marara Jr. and Marara. We are live. Don't click anything, let it sit there.
I'm not going to click anything. I don't want problems.
There's a couple questions I want to ask you about the Rwandan politics as a whole. That's what I want to ask you. The first thing I want to ask you is, what do most outsiders misunderstand about Rwandan politics?
I think they have a shift. It's been shifting from 1990s. There has been a lot of changes in the way diplomacy has been between Rwanda and the outside world. Because in 1994, after the war and the genocide, the government worked so hard to make the world understand the tragedy that happened in Rwanda in 1994. And one of the things that the government invested in was to actually arrest the suspects, make the world understand that Rwanda had a very serious situation during genocide because people turned against each other. The world responded very well because there had been misuse of government funds, there had been lootings, there had been killings, the hospitals were non-functional. There was quite a lot of work. I remember countries like the European countries, the Americans, everyone, they came together to support the Rwandese in order to be able to pay respect to those who passed away and to support the survivors and to treat the ill, bring medication to hospitals. You know, the infrastructures, to be honest, to start on. So the whole world was more concerned about genocide. They did not take time to look at the crimes committed by the army that I was part of, the RPA, which became the RDF in the end. So your question was how the world views us today. Because it took so many years for the world to realize that there are actually other questions that needs to be looked at. Like the shooting down of the presidential jet. And after the shooting down of the presidential jet, it led to the killings. Because the killings started after that president had been killed. And there was some pushing. Some of the people came out to question as to who really shot this plane. Because after the shooting of the plane, a lot happened. And there was no evidence to suggest that this plane had an accident. It was shot with the missiles. So the view continued being reviewed to the stage where President Kagame was put in question as the one who ordered the shooting of the plane. So the world came on a point of seeing another view of what may have been hidden for quite a long time. So now it moved on. After the refugees left Rwanda, because the people who were in power and the citizens of Rwanda, some of them left the country and moved on to seek refuge outside. Some went to Tanzania, some went to Burundi, but the majority went to DRC. And our soldiers followed them. And they shot at them. Civilians. So millions, more than, we talk about the genocide of almost 1 million people died. But then in Congo we lost more than millions, not just one. So the world as time went on, the world started seeing another image of the government they have been supporting. But it took time and a lot of effort, corrective effort from different political parties, from human rights activists, from Amnesty International. But there was even time whereby the world was actually turning against each other on the issue of the confusion caused by Rwanda's diplomacy and propaganda. So what the world has come to realize now is that President Kagame has been in DRC for almost 30 years and he's been there for minerals, not actually for the genocide that he continues saying he's trying to protect people from killing each other. And the rebels that he's been saying that he's fighting, he was actually fighting to create labels to enrich himself, but not to stabilize the eastern region of DRC. So I'm not saying that the majority of the world now knows that the politics, our politics in Rwanda, have always been politics that looks at their own interest by enriching themselves and actually abusing DRC's integrity. So now, I'm not saying the whole world now knows that, but the majority of the world, with the help of media, help of politicians, and help mainly of the central government of DRC, because they have been very vocal and they have built diplomacy that we had fought to build for more than 30 years. But Kagame was spending so much money to silence every critic or every person who tries to explain. But I think it's on a better level now. People knows him and his politics is somehow cracking because he's in a situation of sanctions. He's been sanctioned. Most of his officials are not allowed to travel abroad. You remember there were times when the police used to come here to warn me about that I'm going to be killed. It was a hard time then.
Yeah, that happened.
But it has got to a stage whereby you can't be worried about Kagame now speaking out on what his governance has been. It's not something for people to worry about at the moment. No. But the world has, people have written books, human rights, United Nations report, Amnesty International. There's a lot of reports, even documentaries indicating the crimes committed by his government. So the world has moved on to understand another side of President Kagame and his government.
Okay, that's good. I've noticed someone has commented, they've asked a question, they've said, is Paul Kagame going to build this country?
Which country?
Rwanda, obviously. I think that's what.
Well, he's been building it.
Yeah.
I think we can't just, as we talk about the leadership that makes him feel that he should be only the one in power and he shouldn't allow a democracy to be functional. He doesn't want to be opposed. He doesn't want challenges. He wants to be just the president and his family and friends. But in terms of building the country, I think he's done quite a lot of work, even though he hasn't spent the amount of money that he has borrowed or the money that of aid and what he's been stealing from Congo. But comparing to the level of where we are and where we were in 1994 in terms of rebuilding a country, I think he's tried. The only downside of it is that he has been moving citizens from their own lands or houses and he did not pay them off. If you know, here in England or even in Uganda and other countries, if you want to build something here, you have to pay me off, and then I'll go. I can't refuse to move, but at least pay me off so I can find somewhere else to go and live. That's the only downside that I think has been, and also grabbing, because he's been grabbing some of the rich people who had been successful in business. He actually made every way to grab the things. Some of them have been told that they never paid tax for 20 years, even though they've been doing it. Just for him to grab and grab and grab.
Of course, that makes sense.
And he doesn't just grab for himself. or he has a family tree and wife and all that, friends, and they all have the powers to grab. So that is another weakness.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I think he's been building. He's built some hospitals. He's repaired some other hospitals. He's been building another. What do you call the airport?
Oh, he's built another airport. That's
Yeah,
good.
he's built a lot of roads that we never even had. There are places where there are roads now that we never had when we came to Rwanda.
Yeah, that's
So there has been a lot going on,
true.
but the only downside is that he thinks he owns the country.
Yeah,
But the country is for everyone.
of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
You can never
Political
own a country.
parties don't work and all that.
Mm.
So I don't know whether I've managed to answer his question, but he says thanks for answering my question.
That's
Thank
good.
you as well.
Now, the next question I've got to ask you is, why is political opposition so limited in Rwanda?
That fits into what I've just been saying because President Kagame happened to become a dictator
Yeah.
by making people feel that without him, Rwanda cannot be led.
Yeah, of course.
You get it?
Yeah.
And for him to continue making people believe in him, he has to weaken the opposition.
Yeah.
The way he has weakened the opposition, when you try to oppose him, he will look for a case. He will fabricate a case for you. He will either say you committed genocide, he will say you are a thief, you've stolen this and that, he will say you have betrayed the nation, he will say you support the criminals. He will find a way
Anyway.
to weaken you. Because there has been, for example, the last time I actually counted the political parties that have been introduced in the Rwandan society,
Yeah.
there were 32. 32
32 is a lot.
political parties. Can you imagine 32 in a country at the time which was less than 12 million? Now we have 14 million. I don't know how many political parties are there, but most of them are outside.
Yeah, of course.
Because when you're in the country, you either choose to work with him or he will silence you. So, and that's exactly what Idi Amin was saying. But at least Idi Amin, when he was in power, he said there will be no elections. I'm the president.
Yeah.
But for President Kagame, we will say we're going to have elections, and he will go in those elections with the people he selects. And the people he selects are those that he knows he definitely win because they are weak to challenge him.
Yeah.
And some of them will turn around and say, I've been thinking of going against RPF, but after having a very good reflection, I think my support, I give it to the RPF. And then he will go and become a member of parliament who just his party gives it up.
Yeah.
And the people of Uganda, sort of Rwanda also, they are ashamed of, not even, they are shy. They shy away of opposing the government because of how everyone praises it from morning to evening. Because if you want to keep a job, if you want to be successful in whatever you're doing, you have to indicate that you are behind the current government.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, there's a.
Because of the dictatorship I'm talking about. Yeah.
Of course. Well, it's the same person. He's asked a question saying, "What do young Rwandans really think about politics privately?"
One of the challenges that I have seen in the young society of the young people, the youth, is that we have seen the politics of Rwanda being mainly played by the current leaders in a way of using youth.
Yeah.
By, first of all, when you get to college, like when he was in college,
Yeah, of course.
You get to join what they call Ingando. Ingando is like political education. And it's not just the theoretical political education. They give you some trainings of the military as well.
Okay.
They teach you how to shoot at the same time. And they brainwash you.
Is this even in the present as well? Now?
Yeah, his presence.
Okay.
Even Dan told me that I should send you there. I told him I can't send my son there because he'll kill him. Uh, this is sometime back.
Yeah.
Because I even told Jimmy, Jimmy, the guy who was the secretary of ambassador here, he's now the second person in the NSS, National Security Service in Rwanda, back in Rwanda. He used to live here in London.
Yeah.
So he also was telling me, you need to send children to learn about the country. Your differences with the country shouldn't be for the children. But the problem is not going there and learning that.
Yeah, of course.
The problem is you going there and not coming back because they can easily do you to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that education continues now. And there are children who moves from Canada, from UK, during the vacation to go and attend those political education. And what I don't like is the speeches that are done by the people who are my age or older than me, because they will be saying that Rwanda cannot exist, for example, if Kagame was not in power.
Yeah.
But Kagame will go anyway because he's going to be 70 years next year. Look at my age. And I was young when he was older. President Kagame was born in 1957. I was born in 1975. I was born when Paul, I think, was 19 or something like that. So you can imagine, are we going to make a copy of him?
No, we can't.
So a good leader, is a leader who can lead people to lead themselves.
Yeah.
This is why you have seen me moving from hospital to another in leadership.
Yeah, of course.
But where I come from to another, being transferred, it doesn't fall apart because you have prepared a team of people who can hold the work you've done. But if you think you are the only alternatives, then you are not a leader.
Yeah, you can't be.
You are not a leader. A leader develops people to do exactly what he's been doing. Or they may be differently from the way you are doing it.
There's a quote I've learned, which is, to lead is to serve.
It's serve,
You
exactly.
need to serve,
Yeah, it's not you becoming the solution of everything.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't listen to you, you kill them.
Yeah.
The problem, one of the problems that I keep asking myself a lot, can there be any other punishment?
That's true. Yeah.
Just find another punishment. It can't just be killing. Yeah, that's the only difference.
That's the only difference. Now, there's a question that I've had to ask you because, I mean, I'm the first to say from what you've told me that as well as Rwanda, Uganda holds a good place in your heart.
Yeah, that's where I was born.
Of course. So
that's where I went to school.
Of course. So the question I have to ask you, why has the relationship between Rwanda and Uganda been very tense at times?
Yeah, it has. It's just that sometimes when I say things, they think that because I was working alongside the president of Rwanda, that probably I have issues with him. I don't have issues with him. But his leadership style is different from Uganda's leadership style.
Okay.
Uganda has freedom of speech. Uganda has freedom of press. Uganda, the only thing that has been because Uganda actually engages in elections, and I don't know whether what people say is true or not, because they say that Mzee sometimes rigs the elections.
Yeah.
But you have to also remember that he goes in the elections with anyone who wishes to join in politics.
Yeah, of course.
He's been recently on and on with Bobi Wine, challenging each other. He's able to tolerate debate. His parliament have discussions live. So you can say whatever you want in Uganda. You are not going to be charged for just like now what I'm saying here in Rwanda.
If you said that in Rwanda.
Yes. So there has been a few reasons why there have been ups and downs relationship with Uganda. One is the law of Uganda, Because President Kagame, if you run away from Rwanda and he say you can't live there anymore because you're feeling threatened, he wants Uganda to hand over back to him. Uganda should be handing over back to him. And this is against the international law. Like as we speak now, there's quite a number of people in Uganda who are actually active on social media and talking about the issues they went through in Rwanda.
Yeah.
For Paul, he wants them back. That's one. Two is they both border with DRC. Uganda wants to work with DRC in trade, yeah? In trade.
In trade, yeah.
Yeah, and the relationship, security, and to respect the integrity of each other. For Rwanda, it's just forcing themselves in with a gun. So these are two people who have different principles.
Yeah.
And whenever Rwanda is having challenges and is struggling to overcome the challenges they created, they want Uganda to come and bail them. And Uganda can't continue bailing Rwanda.
No.
Because in 1998, they had to join them, and the war was bad. To the extent they even fought each other. Another thing is Uganda is a big country and is a rich country in resources, food and land. There has been times when Uganda was actually supplying fish, milk, you know, these businesses.
Yeah. And
one day, Rwanda said that Uganda was supporting rebels to attack Rwanda.
Okay.
And they just crossed the border. They crossed the border without notice.
Without any permission.
Yeah. The Ugandan people, the Kenyan people who takes things to Rwanda,
yeah,
they were stuck on the border for 2 days. What do you think when you have fish on the truck?
Yeah.
What happens? They're done.
They're done. Yeah.
And that's losing money. Kenya had to pay the business people because Rwanda is an East African nation that had lost itself because we in the East African community, the law says that we have to promote freedom of movement and the common market.
Of course, yeah.
But President Kagame did not consult the East African community. President Kagame just crossed. And now the business people lost the money. Uganda had to pay off some, and Kenya had to pay off some. For those who trade in dry food, they were fine. They could easily take it elsewhere, like Sudan or anywhere. But those who have fresh food, like bananas, matoke, and all that, fish, all had to be paid off. So that meant that not only that there's a regional relationship that is getting affected because of endless wars for Rwanda, and sometimes they affect Uganda at the same time. And then there's issues around business in the East African community. There's issues around intelligence, and there's also issues around kidnapping the asylum seekers in Uganda. Yeah. There is more that we can't go on and on. There is competitions in trade, but you can't compete with Uganda with 50 million population. You are 14 million. You have a very small land. You need to work together, but not competing. There was also an issue around the space, airspace. Yeah. And something we call radar, which sees the aeroplanes in the area, because his radar could go on to and see what is in the airspace of Ethiopia and Kenya. He should not have bought that radar. So there's issues around intelligence, quite a lot of issues around intelligence. There's a time they even tried to kill each other.
Really?
Yes. But anyway, it was stabilized, but it's starting again because now Uganda has got some contracts with DRC in terms of building roads, trade, and for him, he wants to destabilize DRC. You can't build roads without peace. You need peace before you build a road. And Uganda does not want to have bad records with the US. And US has got a trillion and trillion contract of mineral mining in DRC. That's not a good place to have a war now.
Yeah.
So these Brooks wars have to end, and Uganda is in support of that. So this again upsets our guy. Yeah.
Of course. Now, the last question I have for you before we end today is something to do with, I'd say, identity and history. That's what I would say. What's the biggest lie told about Rwanda?
There's a few. There's a few. When I was growing up, I was told that we are Tutsis.
Okay.
I did not question what exactly a Tutsi is. But then we have these labels of Tutsi, Hutu, and Twa that they were not there.
Okay.
They were brought by the colony. I came to understand that after I went to Rwanda, because my grandparents and my parents never told me the source of these names.
Yeah.
And they would say that Hutus are strong people, have got big chest, looking this way. But if you look at me now, do I look like Kagame or I look like Hutus? Because Kagame looks like Ethiopians or the Somalis.
That's true. He does look very...
Yeah. But there are people who looks common. The common Africans. With features of men if you're a man, and features of women if you're a woman.
Yeah.
And there are people who can be skinny with some small face. Those ones, apparently, they were the Tutsis. Your granddaddy looked that way anyway.
Is it?
Yeah. So, but the surprise that I came to find out, because the people who grew up in Rwanda, they were privileged. They studied Rwandan history.
Yeah.
But for us in Uganda, we were being taught Ugandan history. So I didn't know much about Rwandan history. Sometimes the Rwandan history I was told was from my grandparents, but they were not. They didn't have books that they are reading. They were just talking from their head. How do you trust that information?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Sometimes when people are talking the Rwandan history, and I remember what I was told, some of it slightly looked like I was told.
Yeah.
But when you go deep, I think they were mixing those informations. And this information of the history for people who studied in Rwanda, they had books, because there are some writers who came along long time ago, like Alex. He was called Alex Kagame, like your guy.
Yeah.
And some other writers. They wrote great books, but unfortunately, they were in French. And some in Kinyarwanda. You see, I speak Kinyarwanda all the time on the telephone, and people. But my Kinyarwanda is not very perfect. I speak more Ugandan languages than Rwandese language.
Yeah, of course.
So you asked me the big lie that had been made. One, which probably most people now know, is to say that the person who will become king is born with it's called imbuto, like seeds.
Okay.
Do you really believe someone can come out the mama's stomach with seeds in the hand?
No.
So someone would have sat there and prepared them to just put them in the baby's hand.
Yeah, of course they have to put it in.
Because they want to keep the kingdom to themselves. You see, like some kingdoms, I'm talking about Uganda because I grew up there very much. Like in the eastern Uganda, you can't say that this is the next king. They elect who is the next king from the royal family.
Yeah.
Because you could easily say King Andrew is the next.
But he's not going to be.
And you see the problems he had, which are not by accident, his behavior.
Yeah.
Or God knows what he was doing. So there are people who are not meant to be really leaders, but they ended up in power because some aunties would have made them have those seats. That was the biggest lie.
Yeah.
The second lie is exactly what I was saying, of having to your grandparent, no, great grandparent, was put in prison. The prison, 1930, it was the first prison in a, what is the 100 states? What's that?
Don't worry about that.
So this prison had been built by the Belgians,
Yeah.
and it was ready to function, but they had not put anybody. When these issues started of saying that they want to give people identity card, yeah?
Yeah.
You see these identity cards that they give people?
Yeah, I see them all the time, yeah.
They wanted to have either Hutu, Twa or Tutsi on an identity card. The guy said, no, we cannot accept this. And he was being consulted to nominate who should be a Hutu and who should be a Tutsi. He said, I can't do that. That's dividing citizens. He was put in jail.
For that?
For quite a while. And even when he came out, he formed a political party because he was against the king now, when he's actually related to the king. Because he thought that this is dividing Rwandans. I know most people are still stuck in that, but I also thank President Kagame for saying that people should be Rwandese, but not seeing themselves in identity.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, that the only problem, he says it in public, but he does it at home. That's the problem. Because discrimination still exists in his life.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you can imagine now, I know we have some ministers from all sides, but if you look in the army, the percentage is very low.
Yeah, of course.
Because they really screen people like crazy. Yeah.
But that is a very, 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 very good information that we've been taken today. I just want to say thank you very much to Noble Marara for obviously getting involved today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's obviously tuned in today as well. If you guys enjoyed this, we will be streaming from Facebook from now on, because we've decided that Facebook is probably the best place to stream this stuff. But yeah.
The problem with TikTok, they are really insulting each other.
Yeah, yeah.
They are not happy people.
Yeah, they're not very happy.
And with the X, I don't know how much he's paid them.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't last for 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll put me down.
Yeah,
even though I have so many followers, but he just manages somewhere.
You'll get taken down.
Yeah.
But we've seen on Facebook that people ask inquisitive questions, and yeah, that's what we need. We need inquisitive questions, and we want people that want to learn from someone who's been there, who's been in Rwanda from 20 years ago. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.